Cassie, welcome to the podcast, Winning the Home Game.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. And, it's interesting because I met you, gosh, I don't know how many years ago it was. Maybe it was 4 or 5 years ago.
It was that one transaction
Right.
where we had a buyer come to us.
That's right,
And
right.
it was part of a multiple offer situation. They said they would close in 10 days. And I was like, I call BS. Like, that's not going to happen. And I called you to make sure. And sure enough, you're like, yep,
Right.
we got it. And
Yep.
we've been working together ever since.
That's what, it's our honor too. And were you the listing agent on that?
No, we were representing
Oh,
buyer.
okay, that's right.
No,
Yeah.
excuse me. You're right.
Okay.
Yes, we were listing agent
Okay,
in a
okay.
multiple offer situation.
Right.
And you were supporting a buyer.
Right, yeah, so fun. And then we hit it off, and you guys are just so professional, so on top of everything. And you're a team too.
Yes.
So you and Jeremy, how did you guys get into real estate?
Well, Jeremy started in real estate in 2002, and we met in 2003-ish. And I was just kind of watching him, in real estate. And I think for me, I had that first real estate moment when I borrowed $10,000 from my dad and put a down payment on a condo in Belltown for $100,000. And I saw what that did. And when I eventually sold it, it doubled. I sold it for $200,000. And that was the quickest $100,000 I've ever made in my life.
Wow.
Easiest, not the
Wow.
quickest, easiest. And started to see the joy of like what real estate can do and how it can build wealth. Also very interested in just home and decor and all that kind of stuff. And so when I was in fundraising and kind of was really looking at like what's the next phase in my life and decided that I wanted to be in real estate. And then Jeremy was like, well, come join me. So then that's when we started together in 2005.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so you've been a team since then.
Yes, we're going in our 20th year.
Wow, that's incredible. Being married and working together, how's that going? Well, obviously great.
It's funny because I don't know it any differently.
Right.
And so, when it comes to real estate, it can actually kind of be a lonely industry. And so to have a partner, regardless of
Right.
who they are, really makes things more interesting. You have, ways to run things off of people. He and I, as you know, are very different personalities that come together in these relationships. We've actually never really known it any differently.
That's so
And so I love it. And
Yeah.
being able to work with a spouse is a lot easier. There's the day when you're just like, I don't feel well, I want to take the day off. And they're like, absolutely, and support you in that way that a business partner, you might feel more responsible in, sharing the load, so to speak.
I love that. And then do you all do separate things? I mean, stay in different lanes, or how does that work?
It's interesting. We get this asked all the time, and they're like, who does who and what does what?
Right.
We are both highly trained in all aspects
Right.
of it, and we kind of go in and out of it. There are natural tendencies for, me. I'm the marketing one that loves to, make sure that the property's all ready with my property management history, being able to manage vendors and provide all those services for our clients. Jeremy really is a very smooth, quiet, data analyst. He's that quiet negotiator. He brings out that side that I sometimes might put too many cards on the table in the beginning. And so between the two, we have those natural elements. We just finished a big remodel on our house, and Jeremy needed to step in and GC that whole project. So I was fully running everything for 6 months. As you know, I've had breast cancer, and there was a year where I needed to step back, and he was able to take over the whole thing. So it comes and goes. But yeah, we definitely have our sort of natural baskets that we're most comfortable filling.
It's obviously a wonderful partnership. It's easy for everybody
Yeah.
to see. All right. So we're going to jump into home buying now.
Yeah.
So what are the most common fears first-time buyers share with you, and how do you help them move through those issues?
Oh gosh, lots of fears. I mean, I think it's the biggest is the fear of the unknown. And sometimes we work with buyers who they're the first generation of buying a home. And so they don't have somebody to help guide them and tell them what to expect and everything. So I think, the top fears are already always like buying something for more than it's worth, spending too much money on a house is a big thing. Home ownership in general, and what does that include? Making sure you're buying a home that, the roof isn't going to fall through, that you aren't going to have flooding in the basement. And if you are, who's going to help you with those partnerships and creating, vendor relationships that can help you through that stuff. I think sometimes they just fear like just even the monthly, like the idea of taking responsibility for this home and that you can't call the landlord anymore, and that can be kind of scary as well. So, or something happens, like what if somebody loses their job? What if, things change, It is different that like rent. Obviously, you can't control that, and you have some pretty good idea of what your monthly mortgage is going to be, give or take a few taxes and insurance stuff. But yeah, I'd say that that's kind of the biggest fears
I
that
think
we
you
hear
covered it
about.
all. I can't think of another one. That's wonderful. All right. For someone buying their first home, what should a buyer look for during a showing? And you guys have a whole process, a wonderful process, but
Yes.
what should they look for?
When they're initially first seeing the house.
Correct.
I think the biggest thing that we really try and prepare them for is the presentation of the home. When you walk into a home and it's been professionally cleaned and the windows are nice and it gives good street appeal and it's fresh paint and it's fresh flooring and is staged, it just helps you see that the seller is willing to make that investment in the home. When you walk into a home and they can't even be bothered to clean it, that there's leaves everywhere in the yard. We're seeing a lot of that right now as we're showing houses, that there's a lot of what we call deferred maintenance where paint is chipping, different things have happened in the house, leaks or whatever that might be that the seller really has not taken care of. If they're not taking care of the visual stuff, what are they not taking care of behind the walls that you can't see? And so we really ask them to really kind of look for those signs, and we'll also show them and say, look, okay, just by the way, so you understand, like this entire roof is going to have to be replaced, and there's a lot of chipped paint here, and this could be because it's a southern exposure, but also it could be that the seller really isn't just paying attention to things. And so I think that's like kind of the number one as we get interested in a home, as we go through inspections and all the various steps as we do with a specific home, those kind of start to come uncovered. And then you can dive deeper with an inspection to really find out, what's the worst case scenario of it.
Such a great point. I never thought about that. That what are you seeing if they're not willing to take care of it now? What could really be behind the scenes? I've never heard of that. That's wonderful. All right. Walk us through your client experience and what your process looks like from start to finish. And I know you have a wonderful process because I've seen it. Yes.
Yeah. Jeremy and I are very passionate about processes and systems, and we have a very specific 8-step process, both for buyers and for our sellers. So for our buyers, step 1 is just intake, and that's where we spend time with our buyers and just talk a lot about their wants and needs and their must-haves. Talking about their dream home, talking about their home for right now, talking about the deal breakers and all that kind of stuff. And once we get an idea of that, our step 2 is about compensation, and that's how we talk about compensation. I think we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But what does that look like for a buyer? Are they going to have to bring money to the table, or is the seller going to be able to pay us? So we talk a lot about that. The third is financing. We require that every buyer that we work with, prior to going out and looking homes, that they are fully approved. And that's where we'll network and connect them with you so that we have that approval. Because there's nothing worse than not getting loan approval, going to look at $1 million home and suddenly realizing you can only afford $600,000 because you will never be able to make them happy. So super important to make that happen. And then our step 4 is education day. And this is our very favorite day. Now, some agents, they may send you listings, buyer listings, and say, let me know what you want to look at. And that's not how Jeremy and I work. We're very much about controlling the process and controlling the environment. So we take them on what we call education day. We put together a tour of about 5 to 7 homes based on the information that they told us that they wanted, plus based on what they've been approved for with a loan. And we throw in a couple extra push properties in there. And that's where, let's say they want a fixer. Now, as you know, Jeremy and I are passionate remodelers, and us a fixer is like a legit studs down remodel.
Right.
And most buyers, when they say fixer, they mean paints, maybe replace carpet, maybe new appliances. So if they say they want a fixer, we're going to put them in a fixer and say, is this really what you want? Or let's say they said, we don't want to move any further than King County, and they don't want to be in Snohomish County, but they want a fully remodeled 4-bedroom home with an attached 2-car garage on a 10,000 square foot lot, and their budget is $850. Well, we know that's not going to happen in King County, so we may push them a little bit, take them up to Shoreline, and see if that, or further into Snohomish County, if that's what they need to push them and say, is it really about finishes or is it about neighborhoods and territories? So we really, by the end of that tour, really have a great idea of what's going to work best for them, and then from there we start sending them listings until we find the right house. Then we have step 5, which is the offer, going through the step-by-step of making sure that we're providing a purchase and sale contract that is as tight as possible, that protects their earnest money as best as we can, and talk about the risks and rewards of all the different contingencies. We have step 6, which is escrow, and as you know, that's where we get them connected with a third party who comes in and helps manage all of the behind the scenes, the funds, the transactions, and all that kind of stuff to ensure that we close, that title is cleared, and we close on time. Step 7 is closing, and that's where, it's that final touch on handing over the keys.
Happy day.
Happy day, yeah, it's a happy day. And for us, step 8 is actually beyond closing. And that is about how just because you bought a house with us doesn't mean our relationship ends. And in fact, so much of our relationships with our buyers become stronger after we close. We are there to help pick paint colors 3 years later. They may be thinking about selling in 5 years, and they want to know what updates should they do in order to have the best return on their investment. It may be something as simple as, I need to replace carpet, who can I work with? And so we continue to create those relationships. So when, as a buyer, you have that fear of like, oh gosh, I get my key and then now what do I do? Like, we become that long-time partner with them to help keep and maintain that home with them.
That's amazing. I mean, if you can think about it, if there's so much unknown for a first-time home buyer, if they actually go through a step-by-step process. By the way, I hear that all the time. I have an education day with Cassie and Jeremy. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And so I know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and they know, like, when we
Right.
go to Education Day, we don't send listings before. Like, it is a true, very
Wow.
controlled tour that's very intentional.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because
Okay.
so for example, someone might look at a property online on Zillow and they'd be like, "Oh no, I don't like it; it's too choppy." And we know that's only because every single bedroom is painted a different color. Or they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I love this house," and it's literally underneath I-5. So we really make it very intentional, and we like the element of surprise.
Right. So good. So good. All right. What are the key data points or market indicators you watch to understand where the market is heading? And I know it's been
Yeah.
an interesting last 5 years, but what do you do?
I think one thing that is really a good data point for anybody to understand is what we call months of inventory. And basically what that means is you have a number right now. I don't know exactly what it is today, but it's been ranging in between 1 to 2 months of supply. So if today no more properties came on the market, it would take, let's say if it was 2 months supply, if today there were no more properties that came on the market, it would take 2 months to sell all of that property. So when you're looking at, is it a buyer's market? Is it a balanced market? Or is it a seller's market? Usually a seller's market is in that kind of 1 to 2.5 months supply, sometimes 1 to 3 months supply. That's considered a seller's market, meaning sellers have the heavy hand in controlling it. Balanced market is usually 3 to 4, sometimes 5 months supply. And then believe it or not, we're not used to this, but 5+ months supply is where the buyer really has the hand, and it's really a buyer's market.
Right.
That's in generality. I mean, we've been in
Right.
a seller's market for so long that suddenly we shift to 3 months inventory and everyone's like, oh, it's a buyer's market.
Right.
And, it takes 45 days to sell a listing.
Right.
That's not necessarily true, but there is opportunity there too. So I think that's like the easiest way for a buyer to fully understand like the numbers and where they're looking at. You can look at median price, you can look at average price, you can look at days on market, but a lot of that, there's so many other factors you have to take into consideration with that, and you really
Right.
have to be the economist and the data analyst
Yeah.
to fully understand it. So I think months of inventory is like the easiest way for a buyer to really understand
I think that's
what kind of
perfect.
power they have.
That's perfect. Okay. All right. So now we're going into some fun questions here for a little bit of a break. But what's one thing you wish your client knew or understood before making an offer?
Well, I think a lot of it is really understanding the risks involved.
Okay.
That when you hire a real estate agent, we're there to protect your earnest money. So, if for whatever reason a contract goes default, if a buyer walks away, we are trying to protect that earnest money, which is that original, typically 3% that a buyer puts down. If you were to walk away from a contract, it's pretty rare that you're going to be forced to actually buy that house, right? What you're losing in your liquidated damages in this case is your earnest money. But I think that it's really important for buyers to understand, when we're in this faster market and it's a competitive market and they're like, oh, we're just going to waive inspection. Well, that doesn't mean you're actually waiving inspection. We would never let a buyer buy a house without having a thorough inspection. Now, it may mean that the seller provided it. It's pretty trendy in Seattle right now that the sellers provide that inspection report. But it doesn't mean that you can't dive into it, that you can't meet with an inspector. Sometimes you have an opportunity to do a pre-inspection. And if nothing else, speaking with the inspector who did that inspection to ask all those questions to make sure that it's very thorough and well done, right? So I think people think, oh, I'm just going to waive financing. Well, you need to know the risks of that, because while, maybe you have enough down payment that it's not going to matter, even in an issue of appraisal when it under appraises, what if you lose your job?
Right.
Like, that means you're most likely not going to qualify for that loan, and that means you're going to lose your earnest money. So I think as you're stepping into transactions, it's super really important to actually understand the contract itself. I think I often will see buyers who are just like kind of writing it, signing it, and not paying attention.
Right.
And that is not something that makes any of us feel comfortable. And the more questions I get asked about a purchase and sale contract, I know that they have read into it, they've done their due diligence. And also, that's our job as well as real estate agents, that we make sure that they do understand.
So that's part of your process too.
Yeah.
Explaining all the contingencies, all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And like, we don't like to talk about purchase and sale contract terms on day one, or your
right.
intake. Even actually, sometimes we'll do a little bit in education day. We really do it when they have that house that they're ready to focus on and are ready to fully listen and understand the risks and liabilities of entering into a contract.
Perfect. All right. This is a personal question. What is one money tip you live by?
Real estate.
Nice.
Right? I mean, I think that, I grew up, I am the daughter of a stockbroker, so I forever have watched the stock market. And I feel like the stock market you have no control over, that it is a gamble, right? And some people do really well and some people don't. Some people are, my father was very wise and conservative in it and did well. Real estate is something, you can grasp. Someone always needs a home.
Right.
So they may not be able to sell it, 100% equity like I did with my first condo. And I haven't sold every property since then as that. But like getting in and starting and having your actual home that is yours, that you have full control over. And, in the case of it's not a good time to sell, rent. Or continue to build that wealth. See if you can actually rent that and purchase a second property, right? Like, you and I are very fond of that.
Right.
So I think for me, that has been just seeing what real estate can do. And there are the ebbs and flows, but overall, it's just done great for so many people around us, including ourselves.
Yes, exactly. And that condo that you bought for $100,000, how long did it take for you to double? How many years?
That was 5 years. So
Wow.
that was 1990. It was right when Belltown was really starting to boom. And I went in and bought it. And actually, in fact, I only lived in it for 2 years.
Wow.
And then I rented it for 3. So I bought it. 2 years later, I'm like, I'm moving to Paris.
Right.
And it was like, okay, we're just going to rent the condo. Wow. And so we were able to rent the condo. And even I think with the dues and everything, I still had to pay like $100 a month, which was still worth the investment. Because at the end of the day, I sold that house. I sold the condo with $100,000 in equity and profit.
Amazing.
That I then took into another house and started my remodeling journey.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. What's one must-have kitchen appliance or household item you can't live without these days? I know this can change throughout the years, but what do you guys got right now?
I'm going to be honest, air fryer. I know. And it's funny because we just did this full remodel and we got the new fast cook oven and it's convection and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, when you're busy and you just need to feed your kid real fast, like, I'm sorry, chicken nuggets, boom, done.
Right.
Yeah.
I use it for toast too, like everything.
I do actually, it's funny. I also have the Instapot, which we only use for rice and eggs. Like, I've never actually been successsul in cooking anything in that was tasteful.
Right. How do you make eggs in there? Like
it's
hard boiled?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It has a full egg setting.
Okay.
And then what I love about it is that as soon as they're done, you put them in an ice bath. You never have to deal with a peeling issue. Like, it literally will peel off in 2 shells.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. Check
So
that
we
out.
just do that with eggs all the time.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my espresso machine, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I know coffee. We all need coffee. Exactly. Lots of it. How should buyers interpret an inspection report? What's normal and what's a red flag?
This is a really great question. And the nice thing now is that the inspection report itself has become so standardized. And so it used to be you would have a random report from all the, come even 10 years ago, the inspection reports that you saw were all very different. There's a company out of Bainbridge Island called Orca Inspection. They basically have sold their technology. And so it's really nice. So now it's a lot easier to read.
Okay.
So usually an inspector, or they should, and if they didn't, that's not a good inspector.
Okay.
They're going to give you sort of 3 levels. The first level is those red flags. This roof is leaking. You need to have it replaced immediately. Lender may not approve and lend on it if that roof leak isn't fixed, right? Could be furnace has a year left and it's going to break down at any moment, that kind of stuff. And then you have the cautionary things. Oftentimes that can be electrical. So for example, maybe it isn't fully up to code, but it's not unsafe. Usually like knob and tube, they'll say is closer to being unsafe or like an ungrounded wire. But there may be some situations where the electrical just wasn't done correctly. Maybe they didn't have a GFCI in the bathroom or the kitchen, that kind of stuff. And then you have what we would call the keep an eye on. So it's more standard, like maybe there's some a bunch of dirt that's touching the siding that really could eventually lead to rotting. Maybe it's a gutter downspout that isn't directed away from the home to protect from the, the foundation or the basement getting water access to. So, and they really actually usually are red and orange and green or blue, right? So they're even coded in that direction. So it's really great. So when you receive your inspection report, you'll get a summary. And in that summary, the first thing is called out is all of those red items that really need to be aware of. And usually those are the things we're negotiating on with a seller to either repair or ask for funds to cover the cost of whatever those repairs might be. The other things are things like in the next year, think about doing this and then keep an eye on this.
Right. Because there is always going to be maintenance.
Always.
Throughout the years.
There is.
It never ends.
Yeah,
right.
as we know, like
Right.
deferred maintenance becomes, not a great home and you can lose a lot of value in the house.
That's right.
So
Perfect. If a first-time buyer plans to upgrade in 3 to 5 years, what should they look for to protect resale value?
Well, bathrooms and kitchens are the way to
Okay.
go. Yeah. So updated bathrooms, updated kitchens will always sell a house better.
Dollar for dollar, you think you'd get back? Or
I think more, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So if you're going to spend $50,000 on a kitchen, you're usually going to get at least 100 to 150 back out of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did
So
not know
a
that.
bathroom
Okay.
where it's at 10, you're probably going to at least get 30 to 50,000 out of
Okay.
that. So yeah, those are the big 2 ones because those are the bigger projects, right? It's
right.
pretty easy to paint walls, even to put up wallpaper,
Right.
change flooring, that kind of stuff. But to go through the time and level of expertise and understanding of doing a kitchen and bathroom remodel are huge. I would say lesser costing would be road appeal and street appeal, so front yards. That's something that's a lot easier for someone who doesn't have the expertise that can dig holes and do new landscaping and adding grass and that kind of stuff. So that's usually a lower cost because a lot of the work can be done
Right.
as a buyer on their own.
And how important is curb appeal?
Huge.
Okay.
Extremely. I mean, you just think about the moment of like when you walk by, even just walking in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
right? And you walk and you look at all these different houses, you're like, oh, I love that house. Oh
Right.
gosh, that looks so dreamy. And then you're like, oh, who's living there?
Right.
Right? So imagine if you're trying to attract a buyer, if they're not even
Right.
interested in walking in the front door,
Right.
then they're definitely not going to be interested
Right.
in what's inside.
So true. All right. What upgrades tend to add the most value when selling later? And you kind
Yeah.
of mentioned this already. But
Exactly. Yeah. I would say, one thing we always require, just do a professional cleaning. It is amazing how many times we'll walk into a house and they can't even be bothered to clean the house.
Wow.
And the toilets are
It
dirty.
still
and there's
happens?
It still happens. We've been in $1 million listings and it still happens. And I'm like, how does this listing agent even let this happen?
Right.
So solid cleaning, right? If you're not getting new carpets, then have the carpets cleaned. If the floors are quite worn, refinish them. Clean your windows. Like that's another thing so easy to do. Have the windows professionally cleaned.
Right.
Cleaning up the yard, putting some fresh mulch. Don't do red bark in your front yard, please.
Right.
So, a fresh dark mulch, weeding, a lot of that stuff can be done so easily and just makes it present well. Fresh coat of paint is
Right.
another really big one. And then obviously if you want to build bigger equity, then those bigger remodeling items are
Right.
bigger tickets.
Okay. Love it. All right. You and Jeremy have bought and remodeled several homes over
Yes,
the years.
we
I mean,
have.
I think as long as I've known you maybe 2 or 3 homes?
We're in our third together, and then
okay.
we each separately have done one.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right. What type of buyer is a good fit for that kind of project? And it seems like it takes a unique mindset and a lot of patience.
Patience and vision, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it takes a buyer with thick skin.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie that
Mm-hmm.
even us, that we've done it so many times, and it's our job, it's our career,
Mm-hmm.
it's our profession, it's still really stressful.
Right.
And there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. If you struggle making quick and easy decisions, a remodel is not for you.
Interesting.
Or you need to fully outsource it and hire that kind of design build, contractor who's going to be able to give you the vision and then be like, do you like this blue or this blue? And you'd be like, I don't like either one. So that's the hard part, is that if you can't make those quick decisions,
Right.
all it will do is just drive you crazy.
Wow.
And which is, I think, a lot, it's hard right now with buyers. They're so busy. We're dealing with buyers. A lot of them are dual income, working more than 40 hours a week, right? Maybe
Right.
they've got families, and doing those kind of remodels is not faint for the heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's also the money aspect seems to always go longer in time.
Double your
and-
budget, double your timeline.
Yes, exactly.
Every single time.
Very stressful. All right. What trends are you seeing in buyer preferences today? Is demand still strong for condos, or, momentum shifting towards single family homes? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I would say since COVID, definitely single family homes.
Okay.
Condos have really struggled since COVID, and they're still really struggling to kind of come back with that. So we also have some shifts in Seattle just with downtown living and the Amazon layoffs. And we have not seen, I mean, in addition to the layoffs we've seen, we have not seen new people coming into Seattle quite a bit. I mean, our population is growing, but it's not anywhere near
Right.
what it used to be in the big sort of Amazon boom, we may call it, before COVID. I would say that there's several different trends. I think it's really focused on the kind of buyer. And so when you have our younger buyers that are in their 20s and early 30s, they definitely are looking for a more low maintenance home. So we often find them attracted to townhomes. They're newer construction, usually have been built in the last 20 years, or could be even brand new construction. A lot less maintenance to worry about, right? You've got newer appliances, you've got newer finishes. It's an easy living too. So usually it's 2 to 3 floors of living. And it means that you can have separated spaces. If they're a single individual, they could easily have roommates and not feel like they're on top of each other. It also is a really great future rental. Townhouses are very easy to rent amongst everything else, because
Interesting.
you don't have a big yard that someone's going to have to take care of. Usually they're in kind of more populated areas like downtown Ballard, downtown Fremont. Younger folks really enjoy being closer and in more walking distance to that. So I would say townhome in that kind of 20 to 30-year-olds is very popular. We're seeing some, from there it usually turns into that like small bungalow, still remodeled. I mean, I think it's very rare we find somebody who really wants a fixer, just really not understanding the depth of it. I would say the demand for yards is much smaller than it used to be. It used to be that I would say even our generation, it was like wanting to have much bigger yards and privacy and all that kind of stuff. And I think that we're seeing a lot of buyers who are using public transportation,
Right.
whether it's bus or whether it's light rail, biking, all that kind of stuff. So they're wanting to be still kind of further in the core than way out in the suburbs. Yeah,
For a first-time home buyer, would you recommend them buying a condo or a townhome?
townhome.
A townhome.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, well, I say this, and yet my first entry into real estate was a condo. So I think you have to kind of really look at what's your entry level. My first answer to that is just get in. Like whatever it takes.
Right.
If you can afford both and you're really looking at one versus the other, I would say definitely go with the quote unquote single family home, which is a townhome, because you have more control.
Right.
When you go into a condominium situation, it may mean that you just want to live maintenance free and only basically with a condo, all you're maintaining is everything from the walls inside, right?
right.
Or even a townhome, you're still dealing with roof and siding and yard and all that kind
That's
of
right.
stuff. You may want that lifestyle, and that's perfectly fine. But what you don't have as much control over is the entire condition of the building. You're dealing with politics and working with
yes.
a board
That's right.
and rules and regulations. And some people thrive in that kind of environment, and some people really don't like it.
Right.
When you go to rent it, Sometimes there's regulations on if you can rent it, or
Right.
you may have a wait list. And then you're also competing with brand new apartments. So it's not for everybody. I would say that my response would be first, like, just get into the market and just be eyes wide open that if you are going to invest in a condo, there's a document we call the resale certificate. And there's now people out there who professionally review them. You can pay them to look at every single component of that resale certificate just to ensure that the board is healthy, that there aren't upcoming assessments that would have to cover pending construction issues or pending repairs, that the budget's balanced, that there's some good savings, that kind of stuff. So.
Perfect. Love it. All right. If you could give one piece of advice to a first-time home buyer, what would that be?
Just buy.
Just buy.
Just buy.
You've said that a few times, so you're really passionate about.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I think we see a lot of buyers right now. They're like, I don't know if I can afford it.
Right.
Well, you can.
Right.
You may not be able to live, in a 5,000 square foot home on top of Queen Anne, but none of us started out that way, right? And the only reason why you may be able to afford that is because you've already bought and sold a couple times to get to that.
Right.
So, Jeremy and I were in our third home together. We each bought individually before that, right? And made those investments so that we can now have this sort of dream home that's remodeled. And it is because we just got started when we were young. So it may not be perfect. It might not be exactly what you want, but you're not buying for today. I shouldn't say. You're not buying for tomorrow. You're buying for today.
Right.
And sometimes we have people like, oh, well, I got to get this, home in a perfect school district and all this kind of stuff. Well, if you haven't had kids yet, you got 5 years, even if you got pregnant today, to kind of really figure that out. Right. And so many of us move in 5 years.
Yeah. Get in. It's
just
really
get
the
in.
best advice. It really is.
Yeah.
When will your current remodel be finished?
It is 98%
What?
done. I know.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it.
Yeah. So we moved back in November 1. So right now, a couple of trim things, and there's like painting that has to be done. But yeah, we are in. We're settled.
Are you going to stay?
We're staying.
Really?
Yes,
Oh my
I know.
God. Like,
Mark
that's
my
your
word, now
forever
it's on
home?
video and audio. So
Forever home, you think?
yeah, we downsized. So we had a bigger home in Matthews Beach area,
Right.
and we sold that right before COVID, and then moved into
beautiful
this
home,
house.
yes.
And it was smaller, and so this home is actually perfect. Our daughter's 17.
Right.
She has her space, but come 2 years, we won't have her home full time.
Right. But there's an extra bed there in case.
There is. She will keep her bed. I won't convert it to a bathroom right away.
Yeah.
So it's actually a really great house for us long term.
Love it.
Yeah.
I turned my son's room into a sauna room. So,
yes, I know.
That's a good thing to do.
And how's it running?
It's perfect.
Hot
I love
sauna
it.
room.
It's the
I know,
best.
with a gorgeous view.
Yeah.
Very jealous.
Well, thank you so much,
Oh, gosh, we're
Cassie.
done? Okay.
We're done. This is it. And where can people find you? You have such good good content, really educational stuff and beautiful stuff on there. Where can we find you?
The first thing is our website, which is johnsonandwalker.com. It's all spelled out.
Okay.
On social media, Instagram is where you'll find us, and it's Johnson_and_Walker. But in both places, you'll see our website talks a lot about our process. Instagram is more about, I love interior design. We love to give tips and tricks on home ownership. It gives you an insight into who Jeremy and I are too, to understand who we are, what our personalities are, and see if it's a good fit to work together. So.
I mean, not only are you both so great and professional at what you do, but you have this eye for what looks good, which is rare. It's like a full package deal.
Thank you.
When you're dealing with brokers, and I have always admired that.
Oh,
so
thank you. It's been, we have yet to kind of launch the remodel on social media. I'm a little apprehensive.
Before and after?
Well, I'll show you pictures after.
Okay, good.
I think for us, when you, especially when you're doing a remodel as a real estate agent, it's like, it's not what's trendy tomorrow. It's what's trendy in 5 years, right?
I know,
and so I think we achieved it.
You have amazing taste. I know it's going to be fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.